Nice one. Here we are. Episode, I don't even know what episode it is now. We've been doing so many recently. Kaos Seagrave, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, mate.
Nice one. We've worked slowly through your household, your crew. Hope you weren't feeling too left out, that only asking you now.
Yeah, I was the last one, so I was just waiting, crying. But
Nah, I was always like, I had anticipations to basically do everyone pretty much, oh, not everyone, like a load of the riders in this, what's essentially this valley.
quite a few now, isn't there?
Yeah, it's insane. I've been so lucky to be kicking off this podcast, and it's like pretty much almost been a coincidence that we've been living here. And I've just had like so many like top athletes to work through. So I've not even had to get Danny on the podcast. Well, I've had him a little bit on the podcast, but like not as a proper guest. I've always had that as like a backup, but I've not even needed to do that. But I'm sure once we move north this month, I'll probably end up doing one with Danny. So to kick things off, I know it's probably like something that you get asked all the time by people who know you, don't know you, is one thing that stands out is you've got a pretty random name. Kaos Seagrave. That is your real name, am I right in saying
that? That is my real name. That is something I need to show my passport to a lot of people. Like when we used to go out, well, when we could go out, people would ask for my name and I'd say Kaos and they wouldn't believe me, and I'd have to get my ID out, and yeah, they still don't believe me.
I think like what makes it like even more unbelievable is does seem like after getting to know you and riding with you a bit, it does seem to be a pretty good fit.
Yeah,
for who you've become.
People say that. I do. It's pretty good. It would be annoying being called Kaos and then just being like a Matt or like acting. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like it's worked well because you've become a professional mountain biker. I guess it might not have been so effective, like
if I was on
in
a
desk. Different career, like working in a bag or something. It's not something that you would say one from like your lawyer to be called Kaos. What's the story behind it anyway? Is it just your dad's idea?
My dad wanted to call. He always wanted to call one of his children Kaos. Tahnee was going to be called Kaos, but my mum said hell no, and then. She's Tahnee. And then when I was born, I didn't have a name for like 4 months or 5 months. Yeah, for ages, because they couldn't find a name. And my dad was like, let's just call him Kaos. And she was like, no. And then he just got my sister and my brother to call me Kaos. And then that's what I knew. So
that's mad. Like, so when you say like 4 or 5 months, so what was did you have a birth certificate and stuff at the start then?
Yeah, but they just didn't do anything. They just said Kaos after a while. And then even when I first, like when we went to the shop when I was younger and I went with my sister and my mum would only call Tahnee's name and be like, Tahnee, bring your brother. She would never call my name. Yeah, just because she didn't want to bring Kaos over. And then when we moved to France, she thought it would all be different, it's not the same, but it means the same in pretty much every single language.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to say, because I guess you guys, something Tahnee mentioned, it's obviously like well documented that you guys lived in France for a big chunk of your lives. I suppose like the name, well, like you've answered the question there, but like I was wondering whether Kaos, for all the people you met, would just assume that that's like a regular British name.
Yeah, they all thought it still means the same, but they just thought it was a bit weirder, really. Yeah, but it's different in French because they say it weird. Yeah. So I made them pronounce it differently in school. Mm-hmm. It's like, because when they say Kaos, it sounds like so not cool. So I was like, I made them write it with an E instead.
Okay, so what's like your actual spelling? Is it Kaos?
Kaos, yeah.
That's cool. Well, I guess it's worked out well. I suppose like you've got your parents to thank for giving you like a pretty marketable name.
Yeah, I did want to change it when I was younger.
You did?
Yeah, because I was it was just so annoying always having to say yes, it's my name. And I was just
teachers not believing you.
Yeah, and my middle name's Mikey. Yeah. So I was just going to change. I was like, I'm going to change it to Mikey, but then I didn't want to in the end.
Yeah, cool. I guess it's like one of those ones where if you just rock it and you have confidence in it, it's amazing like what you can pull off, and like once you like aren't ashamed of it, people don't have any reason to like take the piss. It's just like
definitely better now. I love it now. I wouldn't change it.
That's cool. So it fits with what you do. You're obviously a racer, a downhill racer, but you're not like necessarily like an out and out racer, and you're pretty versatile and do like all sorts of other stuff as well. What would you, or do you even try and define your sort of role or your discipline within mountain biking?
So I've always wanted to be a racer. Like when I was younger, I always looked up to like Sam Hill and Danny and that. And with Tahnee racing, I just followed her. But since moving back to the UK, I've like learned to love a lot more about riding. Yeah. Like before, like when I lived in Morzine, it was all about just going to do laps and going fast and trying to win races. But since moving back here, it's just like riding. Like we started doing so much other riding, like dirt jumps and everything else. So it's just showed me what actually you can do on a bike. Like, yeah. So, and with all like getting better at that with Cade's been a massive help with that. And then being invited to the other events like the fest and that, it's just shown me what you can actually do on a bike and how much fun it actually is, rather than just be concentrated on one thing.
That's cool. Do you think the sort of terrain and like mountain sort of layout and the lack of maybe like, even though we do have like big mountains, especially here in Wales, do you think that's one of the main reasons that UK riders have to kind of change how they approach things, because they don't just have like a gondola that takes them up like 3,000 meters for you to then just like come straight back down? Or is it maybe more about the crew, or is it just a bit of both? It's
definitely a lot more like, I don't know how, like when I lived in France, it was literally all I thought and all I knew was riding or getting a lift to Morzine, because I lived like 5 minutes away from it. It was either getting a lift to Morzine and doing laps all day, or I didn't ride my bike. But here I have a bunch of mates that ride everything. So I can go for DH laps, I can go for dirt jumps, and it's a lot, I don't know, it's a lot less lazy, I reckon, here. Like you find out a lot more that you can do on a bike compared to how you just grew up in Morzine and you just ride a downhill bike.
Yeah, I guess both have their like,
they both have their advantage.
Amazing that like how strong the UK scene is, like in terms of just an overall mountain bike scene, but also a racing scene. Like when you take into consideration the fact that like we don't have all these like ski resorts. That's
what I always wondered when I was younger, like how are like the British so good? But then you make the most of what you have, don't you? And I think I did love going up in Morzine, like I wouldn't change it for the world, but living here has made my riding so much better. Yeah. Because it's just amazing over here.
I think there's like a lot to be said for like pushing up and like sessioning a corner or something, because I feel like whilst there's obvious benefits of like going up to the top of like Morzine and coming back down again, by the time you get around to hitting that, say if you were to pick out one corner, it'll be like, I don't know, could be an hour till you do it again. Whereas if you can like actually session a corner, you're maybe more likely to actually
like when with our spot that we've dug with the whole crew, like we session it like all day, and no wonder you get better, because if you're just sessioning with your mates all day, you're not worrying about anything, you're just riding your bike. And then when you're going up lift, or you're like, even though you're doing it for fun, you're still like, oh, I want to go fast. Like if you have Cade following you, you're always like, oh, I need to go fast now. So that is I prefer sessioning now. It's just
that's cool. That's interesting to talk about like Cade and your crew, like how important it is to you to have, say, something like Cade. And I'm sure he has it the other way around as well, like to basically push each other.
It is amazing.
Like bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah, it's amazing, but at the same time, it's like the worst thing ever, because you ride, like you do anything. When the skate parks were open, we used to go to the skate park. I finally learned how to truck, and I was so happy. And I trucked this jump, and I was like, oh, sound, and like Tahnee and that were like, yo. And you could just see Cade was like, oh, I can do better. And then he did like a double truck, and then he did like a free whip. And it was just like, oh my God, we know you're better. Just let me have this one time.
Yeah, it's funny, like Tahnee kind of said that something similar, where she's basically saying like it's awesome to have like an awesome crew around you with like yourself and Cade. And then there's just getting that fine balance between getting inspiration but not getting
and
like
getting
too
annoyed.
disheartened.
Yeah, I feel bad because I feel like that with Cade, but then she always goes, well, that's how we feel with both of you. Yeah. And then it's always the same. Like there's always one person that's going to be better than you. Yeah. And yeah, it's just, but we all ride together and we all spend pretty much every single time of the day together. So even with Leo and Vero, we see them all the time. Yeah,
it's such a cool seeing you guys. You got like I said to the other guys as well, it's like we were at Revs one day and it was cool seeing you guys like sessioning a bike park. Obviously it was closed. The way that we would like go and like ride street and like you're just getting like your social media, like you're getting like Insta clips and stuff like that, whereas we're so used to just like going up and down and not really ever like thinking about like stopping. So it's probably something we should do. But
people just think we do it just for the Insta, but that is actually what we do. We generally do just
you're like sessioning and you may as well film it. It's not like you're not just there to get Insta clips.
Yeah, we're not just there to get Insta clips, but we like that is generally what we just sesh all day, and then one of us has our phone out because why not? Yeah. But we do, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Instagram. Again, I've talked to the other guys about it. Like, it's hard to kind of get that balance between. In some ways, it does motivate you to go out riding and stuff, but then sometimes it can be like a pressure. Is that something you feel that you kind of battle with a little bit, or do you feel you have a pretty good relationship with it?
I don't find it too bad, but some days you are like, I need to go and get a clip because I don't have anything, and like racing and stuff. Yeah, especially with no racing and no events. So some days you are trying to find what you can do, and especially around here, like we've done everything. Yeah. So it is hard to find new stuff, but then you just forget about it for a day, and then you go riding, you get a clip, and then you're like, oh, actually, I've got a clip now, because you just forget. Like the more I think about it, less the better it is, I reckon. Like the more I think about, oh, I need to go get a clip, then
it's hard to be creative, and come up with something new when
you're always thinking about.
The reason for doing it is like you're stressing about getting one. But we definitely have that, and it's so easy to kind of fall into like that trap. It's maybe not the best term because it's like it is a rad thing, but it's just like it can be a weird one, and I'm sure people are listening to this. Of like two pro riders like complaining about thing, and they're probably just like get a grip and shut up.
But it is hard, like because it's the only thing that it's the only thing why you're on Insta really is to show your riding, and when you don't have any riding to show, you're just like, oh well, I'm not going to post anything else. Yeah. And then, I reckon the least you think about it, then the easier it comes, and that's what I try to do most days.
It's a kind of interesting debate. Like I'm sure all sorts of industries have it, or sports, where that sort of results-based rider compared to say like a media rider, or like a racer compared to a media rider. And I guess you have like a pretty unique perspective where you kind of like sit on both sides of the fence, if you know what I mean. I know there's like a bit of an ongoing debate on like how brands reward race results versus media. Do you feel like that's at a good place, or do you think it could do with I guess it can't really be looked at because it's their prerogative, do you know what I mean? But do you think that balance is at a decent place?
Nowadays I do, but I feel like it's like some like the top racers are getting paid how they should be, and the top free riders are, but the middle, there are some that are struggling, and like me and Cade have just started getting, like I remember when we were like 18, starting to do what we're doing now, like the free racer things. We went down to Windhill and we were talking to some, and people thought we were earning like 30 to 35k a year. Yeah. And that's when my dad was putting some of his money towards the team for me. Yeah. That's when we had to pay, like if we were a junior in our team, we had to pay to be on the team. So we were like, no, I'm actually paying to be on the team.
I'm like a negative professional.
Yeah. And it's just funny how, just people think that you're earning so much and like it's all easy, but they never, like, because on Instagram it always looks easy, but it's actually quite hard. And I do think that, but nowadays it is better. Like some of the free riders or like people who just do it on Insta are getting a lot more appreciation.
Yeah, It's definitely been a shift in the last like few years, but
definitely the last few years.
I think it's just hard. Like I think even if you aren't into like riding or whatever, I think like what you say about people always thinking that people basically, I think it's, again, it comes from social media. It's like people always think that everyone else is killing it.
Yeah.
And it's like the reality is that you're, like you say, you're probably making, like that rider that you look up to is probably making less money than you think.
Yeah.
And it's probably putting actually a lot more work than you think. So it's like, it's a hard one. And I guess nobody really knows what everyone's getting paid.
Nah.
Even within the riders, obviously everyone talks, but it's just easy to think that everyone else is killing it around you and you're not, kind of thing.
It is, yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like you do just see on Insta and you're like, oh, he has it so easy. But then, like, yeah, it's not easy at all. Like you look at someone like Bruni, if you look at Insta, you see he goes to the gym and you see he does racing. But if you really know what he does, you know that he like does so much, and then that's why he does do as well as he does and gets paid like he does. I suppose like he'll literally be like in the gym every day, riding every day, and he's pretty like, I think like Bruni's like a unique person where he kind of has it all in a way, where he's like, he's got the charisma, he's got the results, and he's good on social media as well. So it's like he kind of ticks all the boxes, I suppose. He's definitely the, like if you Googled racer, I would, like the first person that would come into my mind is Bruni. Yeah. I suppose with like this year as well, like racers have had to, I guess a lot of racers have had to start doing what, say, the likes of like you and Cade have been doing for the last like you're not necessarily like, oh, like you're not doing like the whole YouTube thing, but you are kind of, you're just doing it on a different platform. You're like, and I suppose most riders have realised that they need to basically do that. A lot of people have started to do it more since all the lockdowns, because we can't go racing. And it is cool to see, like you've seen like so many more, I've seen so many other sides to people that I wouldn't have thought. Like the best is I've been riding a few more times now with my mate Joe Breeden. Yeah. And he puts in so much work, and he's literally, but like for racing, like puts in so much work, dedicates his whole life, and now he's starting to have like more fun on the side, and it's so good to see because he's just trying these new things and he's still putting the same amount of work, but he's having more on top of it as well. Yeah, he's having more fun. Yeah, he has some like super cool like Instagram clips I've noticed recently. Yeah, and stuff, like really real cool good bike rider, and just he didn't show it before because he was too concentrated on the races, and now it's just like with like say yourself and Cade doing, I wouldn't say focusing on social media, but like making a conscious effort on social media as well as the racing over the last few years, was that something that you kind of like did consciously as like in terms of like a professional decision, be like, if I can up my game, I'm going to get better contracts, or I'll be able to prolong my career, whatever? Is that something you did consciously, or is it just kind of happened naturally? This is all natural. Like me, I started riding with Cade when I was in junior. Well, I raced with him since I was juvie, but I didn't really like him before junior, to be fair. And then you should probably say juvie's like it's not juvenile and youth. So I've raced against Cade since I was like 12 or 13, and but then when we started junior racing, we started to do trains and always ride together. Like our photographers always just get annoyed because because we were on transition back then. Yeah. And if I was like, and he'd have been on, he was on Trek, Atherton Trek. Yeah, Atherton Trek. So if Atherton's wanted a picture, they always had like me in Fox gear and a transition, and then the other way around, there would always be an Atherton Trek in our pictures. And then we'll just have fun after the races, and then we'd put that on Insta, and then people started following, and then it's just, I've never really thought of Insta as my job because I just post what I do. Yeah. So I'm just having fun. Yeah. And then I still think of my job as the funnest thing ever because it's still just natural to me. Yeah. Yeah, it was never like, oh, I'm going to do Insta because I want that to be my job. It's just kind of, I guess it's quite similar to Vero, I suppose. Yeah.
Where like she was racing and then...
Yeah, she was racing and then she started having fun on a bike, started showing it more. Yeah. Like she didn't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to swap racing for Insta. Yeah. She just started riding, like having more fun on the bike, filming it, and that became what she's doing now.
I think like because of that as well, it comes across as so genuine as well, because you can't like fake that. And if you are just having fun.
Yeah.
But it's quite ironic that basically like for someone like Vero, once she gave up on almost like being a professional, she became a professional.
Yeah, she just went straight in from professional that to professional. Well, yeah.
You talk about growing up in Morzine. I heard from Robbie Mead that you're a pretty good skier. Yeah. Is that something that you did, like, did you just always do that at the same time as biking, or was it very much like skiing then biking?
It was since I was until I was like 12 or 13, it was skiing was priority then biking. Yeah. Were you like a racer or like a freestyle kind of? I started racing and just because that's like all my mates who I went to school with, like we started when we were like 4. Like, so I just spent all day with them and then we went skiing to the ski club. And it was like you skied for 8 months of the year. So it's definitely going to be a more priority than biking. Even though I did prefer biking, but just skiing was just more natural because you did it more often. And it wasn't until I quit racing because I just wasn't for me anymore. And then I started mogul skiing. And I did that for a few years because I wanted to learn how to do all the tricks, and mogul skiing was quite cool. And did that, I came like 10th in France at the nationals. So I was like quite happy with that, to be fair. And then... So is that basically like mogul, like selection moguls, jump, loads of moguls, then a jump? I was, because I was only like 13, there wasn't 2 jumps, there was only one jump. But then I did that for a few years and then I stopped fully because I wanted to do biking, and I just lost the love for skiing, to be fair. Do you think that's like something that did you think you learned like a lot of stuff in terms of skiing? Definitely. Or even an inspiration to then like take it over onto the bike? Definitely. Like, you ride? Yeah, you know, like because when you're skiing, you got the whole slope to do what you want. So kind of, you know, when you're riding down like you can choose your own lines, you can choose your own gaps. And when you're going down like free ride at revs, there's little gaps you can do where you can find your own lines. And I definitely think I've got... off piste and like... James just like ripping it through the trees that aren't even part of the track. Yeah, like that. So it's definitely like, I definitely do think of like skiing did help with some stuff like that, and flipping. I was doing flips and stuff since I was young on skis. So that definitely helped on when I tried to do a flip on bike, I already knew how it felt to go upside down and stuff like that. When did you do your first flip on the bike? I did it at Ramp World, actually. Oh, really? Yeah. I did BMX or? On jump bike. I did it with, I had a teammate back in the day, Joe Parfit. Okay. And I just went to his, before we became teammates, he spent like the summer at mine, and then I came back to the winter to his, and we just went back and forth. And I came back and I'd never really ridden a skate park before. And there was a foam, like you've ridden Ramp World, haven't you? No, I don't have it. I haven't actually. No. It's like, there's a foam pit. I've ridden I did like, I learned them at Unit, which is just like probably a similar setup, just like foam pit and resi next to each other. Oh yeah, foam pit, resi next to each other, and I just did that. And then I didn't actually throw my first flip until the next year when the whole team was there, because we did like a team camp and they made me do it. Yeah. Did you, one thing I spoke to Cade about, because it was like one of the things I asked him was when we're going to see a flip in a race run, World Cup race run. I was looking it up yesterday. I saw in a Ben Cathro vlog that you did one in, I think it was practice. Yeah, I did one in practice and at Snowshoe, because it was that first hip. And I was going to do it in race run, but I crashed in qualies. Yeah. But did you try? Yeah, I think you didn't do the flip in qualies. No, because it's too hard to it's hard to qualify nowadays. Yeah. Like you gotta actually you gotta have a good one to qualify. So if I flipped in qualies, I was just like, I'm not going to.
Because I was like watching, it's like at the very start, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, and it looked like you had to go pretty slow, or like, I don't know, I guess it's, if you're trying to qualify, and like the difference between flipping a jump and scrubbing one. I don't know, probably like a half a second in it or something.
Especially at that race, because in the race ones, you didn't do the jump. You like squashed it to the right, and you were sprinting into it. But to actually do the hip, you had to slow down, pop it, and it was like, it would have been like 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah, because I looked at it and I was like, you are like super chill. You're basically like sitting down.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, is he going to flip this year? But I think it was like almost like slow-mo.
Yeah, it was because it was just a downslope into it with like a roller before, so you could literally just sit down into it. And
so you like full on ready. If you'd qualified, you'd be happy to just give up like the 3 seconds.
Yeah, I would have, because it's on. Yeah, I would have. It's a race one, and you don't get that many chances to flip in a race one.
Is there any other? I guess the track's changed. Is there any other places like coming up that you think they could be on?
There are a few, but it wouldn't be enjoyable. It would be. I need it wouldn't be like that one was like the lip was good and you just flip.
Yeah, it looked perfect.
Yeah, but
it was slightly hip. It was slightly hip though, wasn't it?
It was slightly hip, but at all the other races, it would just be like you'd be at the top, like oh my god.
Yeah. So, definitely be worth it. Like it gets so much coverage.
It would, yeah. I would, if there is ever like a nice jump, like an actual nice jump at a race, which there isn't really nowadays. I would do it, but at the moment, it's...
Need to make a little mini one off the side somewhere.
Yeah.
Get it on Red Bull TV. It'd be class. So you're obviously, we talked about you being, talking about flips, it kind of proves that you're like a versatile rider. You've done, I watched some clips of you guys yesterday, like you've done like, say, like a fest series. I guess first of all, like how would you explain, if someone was listening to this and has never seen or heard of fest series, how do you describe what one of those events is?
Bunch of mates having the best time ever for a week or a bit longer. It honestly is. Me and Kate got invited to Loose Fest.
Which is in Belgium? Is that Vink's one?
Yeah, that's in Belgium. And so we got invited to that in 2019 and that was our first one we did. And so we like, there was Vink and that, and we've always like looked up to Vink and been like, oh, he's so cool.
Yeah.
And then going there, seeing the jumps in real life, they're like 100-foot jumps, just going like 65k, and you're just you're just jumping for a week. That's all you're doing, just having fun. And the jumps are too big to ride in the day because there's like the tiniest bit of wind, like you don't want to. So you just have. So it's not just because you're there to do those jumps. It's not like a race where you can't practice or anything. It's like it's an event with all your mates. So you just ride the bike park all day, and then someone just.
You just ride like you just ride like the regular bike park during the day.
Yeah. So you just ride the bike park with everyone during the day, and then like near like 6 p.m. someone says like big jumps because the wind's gone, and then you just move on to the big ones, and then the second one. I've only done 2, and the second one I did was the one where Sam Reynolds invited me to. The one at Darkfest in South Africa. So the one in Belgium was more just huge doubles, like actual big mountain bike jumps, and the one in Darkfest, again mountain bike jumps, but huge, like they were pretty much huge dirt jumps. The end ones, like just real big.
I guess that's like Sam's. An extension of like what he's done.
Like there is still like a 90-footer at the start, but Loose Fest is all of the first ones, and Dark Fest is more of the big one, and then you just go up high and you're just in the air for like, I think if you look at the videos, every single jump you're in the air for at least 3 seconds, I think, and you're just like so it's basically just big jumps for a week having fun with your mates.
How do you even like, especially when it's like your first time at like one of those events, how do you even get into the mode of like tackling the first one? Do you get like help from the rest of the guys, or like, because it does seem like it's a good vibe and like it's not competitive.
It's not competitive at all. Like there's a few prizes at the end, but you don't really think about that. You just think about and then it's just a case of not crashing throughout the week. But when we got to Loose Fest, Nico told us what to do, and like he was like, don't do anything into the first jump, and then you gotta tuck as hard as possible and pull as hard for the next ones, and you just
make sure
like,
you just trust, like yeah, just in the right order. Yeah, like. You just trusted his word because it's Nico, and like he built them, and you just basically whatever they say, like they're telling the. They know. Well, they're like they basically be like murderers or
but you know that they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So you just listen to them, and you can follow in, but it's just trust the others really. And like when I went to Darkfest, I can't remember who I followed really, but there's like at Darkfest you can warm up on the step up, which is a bit easier than Loose Fest, because at Loose Fest you do have to start from.
Yeah, I think if I had to hit one of the jumps from the two events you're talking about, it'd probably be that step up.
Yeah, because you
must be going so fast though.
Yeah, you can just start from the hip and just drop in and hit that one jump and then just do that over and over. But in Belgium, you have to do the whole line. It's not like if you could start from one pedal in.
Yeah.
So
you literally go from at Loose Fest, so you literally like dropping in and then. You do every jump. You do every jump straight off the bat.
Yeah. So what we did at Loose Fest was we did the first shark fins, and if you felt comfortable going into the first one, you did it, because you don't do anything. You land the shark fin, and then you just let your bike do it for the first one, and then you stop after that, and then you go. But then I did the first one, and then landed that, pulled off, and then the next one landed that again. And then I was like, go for the next one. If you tuck and pulled, next one. And you're like, I can go for the next one. And then the next one. And then I managed to do the full line. And then I did it once. And I was like, right, that's my day done. I can do it tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. And I saw Adolf. Adolf had that big crash.
Adolf Silva.
Yeah.
At Loose Fest. And I was like, I just saw that and I was like, I'm not riding today. Like, that's one of the things I was going to ask. Like at events like that, there's obviously, like you say, it's like it sounds like a chilled vibe in some ways, but at the same time, you guys are hitting like insane jumps. The risks are massive. And like, what do you do when you see someone like that go down, and how does that affect you for actually going back and hitting them again?
It's definitely scary, because you do get in like a bubble of, this is amazing and we're having the best time ever. And then I don't think people realize how gnarly Adolf is, because how he is still sending what he's doing now after that crash. Yeah. Like
what did happen?
He pretty much went 110 or 120 foot to his face, going like 65k.
Did he try front it, or did he just overshoot?
So he just, I was on the button lift. So I didn't see it properly. All I could see was him tumbling, but it's just, I think he just got the pop wrong on the first jump, and it does go wrong when it goes wrong. Yeah. Like, and Damon had a crash on the hip, and like he did it fine, and then literally just slid on the landing and broke his scapula, I think. Yeah. There was something in his shoulder, and it was like, it didn't look like it, like in the air it looked fine, and then it does, but if it does go wrong, it does go wrong quite.
Yeah, it's so gnarly. Like you say, like you can just see the sort of situation where you just get into the vibe of like it all being mint, and then like that, it's suddenly like snaps out of it. So just like nobody ride after that.
Nah,
like
you have
that
to.
day.
Yeah, I didn't ride because I did the full line, and I just didn't. It was like we ride at like 6 to like 9 p.m. because of the wind. So it was like at this point it was like 8, and I was like, I'm not riding anymore. But then the other boys, they're like, we still got to carry on riding. So they carried on riding, and then we got back into it the next day. But it definitely does. It is scary, like watching your mate like crash like that, because you don't think about it, because you're like, it's all going to be okay. And then like he had a long recovery after that.
Yeah, it's mental, because like you say, if he's a gnarly bastard, it's mental. Like
gnarliest person.
And on a bike and off
bike. No, honestly, funniest but gnarliest person I've ever met. Like, I don't know how he's can spin around. Like, you see that body varial?
Oh yeah, it's insane.
I don't know how you can do
like triple. He's done triple flip, hasn't he?
Triple flip, yeah. Definitely like moto inspired, which is sick.
So once you like hit a jump like that, because I think I saw, was it a Dart Fest? You flipped one of the big jumps.
Flipped the last one, yeah.
How do you even begin to like work up to doing that?
I crashed the first one. I over looped it,
and you
but just a tiny bit. So it like shot me back over the bars, but without my bike. So I just slid on my all fours and just slid down the hill. So I hurt my wrist a tiny bit, but it wasn't anything bad. But that was second go. Really? So I did the line. Did the line for like one go. And then the next go, you're in the air for that long on the jumps before that you feel like you've done it before.
Yeah.
So I was in the air on the jump before and I was like, oh, I may as well try flip it. But that was crazy because you're just in the air and you're just spinning backwards and then
such a slow rotation.
It's so slow. All I did was like roll my eyes back.
Yeah.
And you do the jumps before and you're just in the air for so long, so you're just thinking like, yeah, I've done this like plenty more times than I actually have, but we're in reality.
Yeah, it seems weird to think like how mellow like that movement must be. Like I've like done like mini flips before. So if I ever try and like flip a jump box or something, even a jump box feels like way too chill, like you're barely doing anything.
Yeah.
So the idea of doing over jump that much. I remember like my mate Ricky Crumpton said that he flipped a big jump like that, and he did say it was literally just like all you have to do is move your eyeballs a little bit, and it like goes right, which is weird, which I think makes it almost harder. Like I'd rather it was like a more like a stronger motion, because it's like you should have more control over that.
It definitely, I find it easier when it's a tiny bit more of a pull because you can judge it, but that is a very good feeling when you're just floating through the air upside down, like going so slow, and you're like, am I spinning? Like,
and then you kind of know you got it.
Then you know you got it when you can see it, like you spot the landing and you're like, yeah, this is insane.
That's sick. Like definitely wish I could do jumps like that.
Airbag. You start coming on the airbag.
That sounds even like more lethal. So obviously you've done Fest Series. One thing I guess a lot of people will be wanting to hear about from your side of thing is Rampage. Is that something that you have aspirations for?
I do want to do it one day, but I mean it's not going to be easy to get one invited or two into it because like there's already so many good people who are already doing it.
Yeah. And
so for people to get invited on top of that, it's even harder.
Yeah.
But I would love to. That is definitely one thing I do want to go. I need to get better at heights before I go though.
Yeah. Are you scared of heights?
I'm scared of heights. So I like.
Which seems
insane. So I need to. So I need to start getting used to them.
You just can't. So you can like hit drops. You just can't like walk to the end of them.
Like the road gap at Hardline. Never walked to the end of it.
Oh really? You just have to hit it blind.
Yeah. I've walked like halfway.
Yeah.
But I've never actually stood on like the end of it because I can't.
That's insane. So you're literally like more happy to chuck yourself off it than
you're just
stay on it. I guess that thing is pretty thin though.
Yeah, you're moving, so you don't have much time to think about it. But when you're stood there, I don't know how. Like Tahnee was saying when she went to Utah in 2019, how pushing up and walking up was actually scarier than riding down. Yeah. Because you're just like you can see everything, can't you? But when you're riding, you're focusing on your riding. So that's one. I definitely wouldn't mind going to Utah before going.
Yeah, I think that seems to be like it's such a gnarly thing. It seems to be like the progression of getting to that event isn't just like the first time you go there isn't going to be the first time you ride, or at least ride at Rampage. It needs to be like a sort of
you gotta be special or very, very good to go straight there and like do so well, because I don't like you'd have to go there and like actually ride there before and
so many of the guys live there now as well. It's like they're just gonna get like insanely good. But yeah, the depth of like talent and like riders that are now like almost focusing on that discipline compared to like 10 years ago. It's pretty nuts because it's funny to think that like, say someone like yourself who has aspirations to go can't just go, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What is the...
You either get a wild card, I think, invited from the year before, like top 10, something wild card, and then they've got a list of invites as well, like on top of that. Like, so full of people who didn't come in the top 10 but who have won it before or come podium. I don't really know. And then there's like 3 wild cards who come on the podium at Proving Grounds. Yeah, okay, which is like the sort of feeder event. Yeah, and I was going to do Proving Grounds, but then it's basically just a slope style course for a mountain bike. Yeah, okay. It's quite weird that Proving Grounds is so far removed from what Rampage actually is. Yeah, so like some of the boys are just like there's like half of my mates who are doing Proving Grounds I know they're better than me at tricks. Yeah. So I was just like, there's no point in me. There's no point in me going if I'm not, like, if it's not exactly what Rampage is. Like, because I'm not going to do well at Proving Grounds because I know the others are better than me at that. It'd be cool if I think they did at one point, but like have some sort of like video contest. I think you can do you can send in a video, and then if they find it good, I guess, think then you get a wild card. I think that's how you get a wild card. Yeah, okay. I don't really know. I'd have to ask a bit more, but it definitely is something I do want to do before. Because if you were to say get an entry, what would then be like? How would you even begin to start preparing for that? Like over here, or I guess you'd have to go out there and stay with those guys. I'd prepare here, but then I'd be like to the boys who live there, like Ethan and that lot. I'd be like, hey, can I come stay at yours for like 2 months? But definitely want to go over there and get used to, because I've never ridden there, and apparently it's so much different to anything you've ridden before. So I guess it's like everything you ever see in any action sports is cameras, no matter how good cameras are getting and everything, and POV cameras, it's never as gnarly as what it looks, and you're like Tahnee, you might just get there and be like, I don't know if I actually want to ride this. Yeah, because I was like, oh, I really want to ride, and then Tahnee was like, you do know you're going to be so scared at the top because of like the cliffs and shit. And I was like, yep, definitely need to get better at cliffs then before I go. Yeah, I guess you could start training for that. Start skydiving or some shit. Just start standing at the edge of cliffs and just having to stand there and look down. I think that's like one thing that I've kind of learned to deal with a little bit with trials is just like heights. Yeah, well, I'm not like scared of heights, but I'm not like, I probably sit like somewhere in between, and it's like over the last like 10 years just been like really try to force yourself to like ride like high stuff, but like wide stuff, and just like do it over and over again, and you do just like slowly get desensitized to it, I suppose. But like those guys must just be so used to being in like Utah, and like you say, it's not just the riding, it's like being used to like being out there, being used to digging on the side of the cliffs, like how to dig, like what makes a good line and stuff. It's and digging for a week and then go straight into like riding and then competing. So I think they've got like an enforced down days and stuff like that, and I don't know, because I think people are getting like so tired, which is like the last thing you want. Which is good from the event, because at least now you know that they're actually thinking about how. Yeah. But there's a gnarly 2 weeks, I think, and definitely is. Yeah. You definitely like feel pretty satisfying to like get back on that plane home. Yeah. All in one piece. After, regardless of the results. I think that's cool about Rampage is it's like obviously there is a group of riders who are like focused on winning that, but it's very much a case of like laying down your best run and being stoked for whatever it is. Like actually, laying down your run and finishing it, being okay, and just being like, I've done Rampage. Like I don't think a mountain biker wouldn't want to say that. Yeah. It's definitely like of all the events, it's like. It's definitely up there, isn't it? Yeah, like, just in terms of like, I don't know, it's like modern day gladiators pretty much. That's what That's what Bragi says. What we are.
Yeah.
When we go up, he says we're just gladiators putting on a show for everyone.
Yeah. Has he ridden Rampage yet?
Nah.
He's
done Hardline and he did Darkfest with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
a maniac.
He's a Viking. I'm a Viking.
How does what's your sort of views on prize money and stuff like that? Because we're talking about like Rampage, where there's probably pretty good prize money relative to say like downhill. Probably still should be a bit more considering what those guys actually have to do. It's something a few people have asked me like in the DMs on the podcast. Is like, I guess people are just obsessed with money. But like, how does the prize money say for World Cup work? What is it and how far does it go down?
I don't actually know how far it goes to, but I know that first does not get at all near the amount that they should do.
Yeah.
I think first is like 3.5 grand.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Which is pretty mad considering how big those events are, because like you say, I know Rampage, people say it should be more, but I'm sure it's like 50 or 100 or something, is it? And then like Crankworks is like 25.
Yeah. I think it definitely should be higher, because when you think about it, we're like World Cups are the highest level of mountain, like of downhill racing. Yeah. And when you think about it, there's only 7 in the year, and that's literally why you ride your bike for like full on races. That's why you ride, is to do well at those 7 races, and the prize money is 3.5 grand.
Yeah.
It's just, so you expect people to go put their life on the line, go as fast as they possibly can. Like if you watch Amory and Louis can that ride, you know that they're going as fast as they can now. Like, and
like a mistake away from that.
Yeah, and then you just, the prize money is like 3.5 grand, and then you get like some other events like skiing where they've got way more World Cups and stuff, and the prize money is insane. And it's just like down, like UCI
seems
could
to be
do
that
a
they've
bit
just
more.
like not really embraced it, because like Crankworks and stuff,
Like
that's a big part of like why those riders would come, and then it's like, it's obviously like like you have the checks and stuff, whereas like in the World Cup, like you don't have any of that. No. It's like they just, I don't know,
it's
kind
like,
of skirt inside of it.
Like if you were a good racer, but you were also good at all the other stuff, like that's why I do all the Crankworks, because there is a lot more opportunity, because there's so, like Crankworks have done so well, because you get a good prize money at all the events. Like even for whip off, even for whip off, I get like.
Yeah, how much did you get for winning whip off?
I think it was like $1 grand, I think, but that was just for doing a whip.
Yeah.
So
just having like a fun night and the beers with your mates.
I had fun for like an hour, just sending whips with Cade, and then I got $1 grand. Yeah. And then the others, they do a like 4-minute race run, like go so fast, and then they just get like a tiny bit more than that. It's just I think it should be a lot more, like a lot more than 3.5.
And I guess it's when it comes to like the male female like split and prize money, in some ways downhill will be like, oh well, we're like really progressive because we pay the men and the women the same, but the reality, all they've done is just like pull the men down, rather than increase everyone.
Rather than increase both of them, they've and make it good for both. They've just gone real far down, and just both of them at that point, and be like, see what we've done.
Yeah, and it's like you said, you weren't sure like how far it goes down, because I know like in many sports, I'm pretty sure in Crankworks it's the same. Like it will go, even though you hear of like the winner of the slopestyle getting 25k, I'm pretty sure if you come 8th or 10th, you'll still get like,
you still get a small
maybe like, I don't know, 1500 or 700. Like, at least it's like something.
Yeah.
Because I guess like as like a privateer in downhill, it's super hard to just like.
I think you got to come at least top 30, I reckon, to get more than.
But it's starting at like 3.5. By the time you get sent to 30, I don't know, I'm not like and I don't know how they distribute it. By the time you get to 30, it must be like getting less than €100.
So our junior came fourth at Worlds. And I think he got £12.25. They gave him 25 coin.
Like a quarter euro.
Yeah, those little coins.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
Just in an envelope.
Yeah, just in an envelope. And there was like a £10 note. And then, £2 coin. And then like, I think it was like just some little coins. And it was just like...
That's like getting... Really? That reminds me of like getting paid when I used to like work in that as a kitchen porter. Like way back in the day where you'd get like in a little envelope and it would be like a couple of notes and then you'd get paid in literally like coins.
And like, he got it and he was like, there's I may as well have not got it. It just feels worse than actually getting anything. But yeah, it definitely
got the check up on the big novelty check up on the wall that says £12.
It's a massive
£12.25.
£12. But yeah, it definitely could be a lot more, I reckon, because I saw a post about the skiing one, and I think after a World Cup she got like 450 something.
€450,000.
Did you see something like that?
I think so. Yeah, that's like from a few races or whatever. But that's how much they made it. From a few
races, but like that much from a few races, and then with all the races combined and downhill, like whatever, 3.5.
Yeah.
Not that good, that much.
Yeah, like basically. Yeah. It's just, even if you had a perfect season, you're probably only going to make like just over what you would get if you say one slopestyle crankworks. Which is pretty mad. Because like it's pretty much like unheard of.
Yeah.
And to do something like that.
And for some of like realistically, only like the top 20 or maybe even 30 are making a living out of riding. This is what people don't know. It's only literally the top 30 who are making a living.
Yeah.
And then
others, it definitely seems to be like, I suppose it happens in other sports, but in theory, like the top tier of people within those other sports are potentially making so much money that like you can then step down and people will still be making a living. Yeah. But it does seem, from just speaking to folk, like you have like your top 15 or top 20 and it seems to almost be like a bit of a cliff edge.
Then it's just and then for them who are like, they still maybe get paid, but they're not like we're like doing amazing. Yeah. And then they rely on the prize money. Mm-hmm. But so you can do that with skiing, and like you could rely on the prize money because it's so big, and like with crankworks, because you can, like it still goes down to like 15th, I think it still goes down in crankworks. But at a World Cup, it's like, even if you come 15th at a World Cup, which is amazing, it's not really, you get like 100,
because to get 15th at World Cup these days is you have to be insanely good.
You have to be insane, and you have to have like a sick run, and then you get like £100. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, well, my entry was like my entry was like that much.
Yeah, I don't even really think of like entry fees as a thing, but it's a hard one. So in terms of talk about crankworks, is that something that you've obviously done a bit of crankworks, you've won whip off? Is that something you'd ever take a more concentrated approach on and like go for, say, King of Crankworks, which is basically all of them together and combined, and that's a pretty valuable thing. Yeah. Well, you, in terms of sponsorship, like for coverage, I would have thought for sponsors as well as prize money and stuff. Is that something you'd go for at some point?
I do definitely want to go for it, but at the moment with the racing and like just like all the other stuff, it's just a bit hard to concentrate on all that, because you got to be so good at everything. Like you got to practice your tricks all the time for speed and style, but then you got to practice your racing. And then, so it's always like, if I'm practicing my tricks, I then get like, oh, you're not training enough for the downhill. And then you start doing that, and then you get back onto the tricks and you can't even do a free bar because you haven't done it in like a few weeks, and you're like, oh my God, I got to redo that. And then, so it is hard. And like last year I got to Rotor, and I said, I do all the events because for fun, but I don't think about King of Crankworks. Mm-hmm. And then I just heard, we just got to Rotor, and I was doing like practice on speed and style, and then like the commentators, it's like they just say the list of like 4 people who are going for King, And it was like Kaos Seagrave going for king. I was like, whoa, way too much pressure on me now. I am not going for king right yet, and just now. But it is definitely something I want to do, because if you get king of crankworks, you just don't know. It's just, like, because you're good, like you've done well at everything, and then you're an all-round biker.
So what events contribute to king of crankworks? Is it literally everything apart from whip-off?
Everything apart from whip-off.
Which is a bit annoying for yourself.
So the one that I love, and I'm like, I can.
What's the reasoning behind that? Just because it's more as like a fun thing rather than...
Because it always started, it started as a fun thing, didn't it? And then it got into an actual event, and it is like, as much as I love it, and I love the sessions, and like it is an insane event, it is just a whip-off.
Yeah.
Like...
I mean, do you have to do enduro as well then?
Nah, you could get the points from speed and style, dual slalom, DH, and then pump track and air DH. So you can get and then like if you have like the boys like Lemoyne, he does slope style, so then he won't do all the downhill, but then he gets the points from the slope style and the pump.
And then are the points from all the events like equally weighted?
I don't actually know, but I guess so. I think they are. They must be.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's cool. That'd be a pretty cool thing to see actually have. And I suppose with like crankworks and World Cups don't clash. Typically
they don't normally, because they do try, and because they obviously crankworks want all the best racers there.
Yeah.
So they do try and communicate, I think. Like we normally do Leogang, and then the week after is crankworks.
Yeah. Is that something that like your sponsors are like pretty supportive of in terms of like, or is it a case of like, nah, you need to, like, we're paying you to ride World Cups.
Yeah.
We want you to be healthy for World Cups. We want you to focus for World Cups. Or is it somewhere in between?
I think it's something in between, because they want me to do the World Cups and stuff, but the crankworks are so big at the moment, and you do get, like, the more events I do, the more coverage that they get.
Yeah.
So it's if there was a World Cup and a crankworks on at the same time, and I chose the crankworks, I don't think they would be that annoyed, because they get everyone at the World Cups and they get what I do at the crankworks. And it's multiple events, and but I think I don't know with the team, because I am the only elite rider in the team, so I probably would have to do the World Cup. But I haven't had to choose yet. Yeah, but
hopefully you don't have to.
Yeah, hopefully I don't have to. If not, that would be an awkward conversation with old people.
I talking about like your team. You guys have like a pretty. I spoke to Tahnee about it and stuff. You have like a pretty unique setup, and that you're like a family team, and you kind of always have been from the get go. Like, how does that whole sort of dynamic work? Like, I know Tahnee said it's like in some ways it's amazing, but then at the same time has its challenges in terms of like downtime. How is that whole? Yeah, how do you find that whole dynamic?
It is like she said, it is amazing because you're with the people that you know the most. Yeah. So, like, and I do love being there for Tahnee, and having my dad there. It does get hard, but like I love helping Tahnee. Yeah. Like I've always, like, ever since I've started racing World Cups, like when I'm in time training, I'll do my first run, I'll do it for me. I'll do a time training run, do my lines, and then the second run, I'd always do it with Tahnee, just to show her what lines I'm doing and what she's like, and then, and that's always been my race weekend, and I love that because I love seeing Tahnee win, and I love like helping her because she's my sister, and having dad there, like you obviously know he wants the best for you, but he's really good at, like, I am his son, and Tahnee's his daughter, but we are his athletes at the races, and I had my teammate Joe Parfit, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm his son, so I got more. It was always me and Parf got the exact same. If I did something just as bad as Parf, I got the same treatment and everything. And he's really good at that. Yeah. And that's why I think we work so well, and like the people who work with us, like we've had the mechanic who's been with us the longest now is Jake, and he was my mechanic before, and now he's Tahnee's, and he feels like he's part of the family because I've known him for ages now, and you kind of it just feels like it just feels like everyone's a part of our family.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So not just the family.
Yeah, like when Path was, he actually felt like my brother because I spent all the time with him, and then he came to ours, and like my mum treated him like if he was me, and it is just one big family, and then so when it is good, it's amazing, but when it's bad, it's real shit because you do bicker.
It's more at stake, basically.
Yeah, and like, like me and Dad just go back and forth at each other because, he's my dad, and then it's just funny because you just see the others on the side and they're just like, oh my god, just shut up, because we both just go on, and then they both just like shut up, and then it's just I love it, but it does get quite hard, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see like that setup, and it seems like you guys kind of almost have like that best of both, where you now have like from outside looking in, you guys obviously know one with me, but you have like a sort of major sponsor in like Canyon, so you almost feel like you have that sort of like factory support, but family vibe. Yeah,
definitely. Like, it is. We always wanted to be a big team, and then we weren't not big, I guess, with transition, but when we stepped up with Canyon, it was definitely a big step in the whole career for the team, because we went from just a camper that we got before we were a team, and now we've got a big race race lorry with like a big pit, and like 4 riders now, and it's just amazing to see, like from what we started at, and now we're a big team, and it's pretty cool to see. Yeah,
it's cool. Like that new truck that you guys have got. So, well, I've not even seen it, but I've seen photos of it. I've seen like the video of your dad building it. It's like an absolute beast. It's like definitely up there with like some of the big dogs in terms of teams at World Cup.
Definitely the best thing that's ever happened is that race van. Like my dad and my best mate Josh, they worked on it the whole winter of like 2019, and blood, sweat and tears put into that. Definitely tears.
Did you help out much with it at all, or did you just leave
I didn't touch it. I let them two do it. Well, them two together are just annoying, so we just let them two together and doing all that, and they did amazing. Like proper sick race track.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm definitely with like the drop and roll stuff, and I'm always like super interested in seeing like different conversions that people.
That thing's sick. The drop and roll.
It's this, it gets a hard life though, as I'm sure yours does too. When you talk about like the helping Tahnee out and stuff, do you feel like you ever kind of like sacrifice your own sort of like race career to kind of, when you say like you're giving up like timed runs or that, or does it help you?
I can't repay Tahnee for what she's done for me, so anything I can do. Like she's done so much for me, and she always will do, so she hasn't stopped doing stuff for me. So
was it Tahnee that got you into riding in the first place, or was it just kind of a bit of everything?
Tahnee and Dad, both of them. But I definitely, like when we lived in Morzine, it was just me and Tahnee would go out riding, and she would have to take me out and everything like that. So it would never feel like I'm sacrificing my own race, and I like doing it, because it makes me happy. And then I've always thought that when you're happy, you ride better, and there's no point in doing it if you're not. So it
must be like such a buzz because Tahnee's obviously got a few World Cups wins. It must be like such a buzz to watch her come down,
such a
and
buzz,
take a win.
But at the same time, like when she won her first World Cup in their gang, is when I missed out on the podium by 0.01 behind Cade. So I was so pissed off, but then I was so happy for her, and I was happy for Cade. But I was like, wow, I'm having the worst weekend ever. But bittersweet. Yeah, it is. There is some. Yeah, so there is always a good thing to come out by racing with your sister, and
it's cool. It's cool from my outside looking in to kind of see it how it works. Like the family dynamic must be challenging, but at the same time, must be so rewarding when it works.
Definitely worth it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, one of the things I was going to say before we wrap things up, it's kind of like a bit of a cliche, but it's something I get asked like quite a bit from, say, like young kids getting in, maybe probably a little bit fixated on like the sponsorship side of things. But if you were to be asked by like a young racer or even just a young sort of free racer getting into riding, what would be like your advice to them, or what would be like your advice to like your 14 or 15-year-old self?
Have fun. That's all I'm going to say, because like the best example I have is Tahnee. Before she got with Cade, she was full on racing, and she wasn't having fun, and you could see it in her riding and in her, like just her generally, and her results weren't as good as what they are now, and her riding, because she was just riding to race and she wasn't having fun. And now she's starting to have more fun and riding with us, and like you can just see it. And I wouldn't be the rider I am now if I wasn't just going out with everyone riding. And so definitely just have fun, and like it's definitely easier when all your mates ride as well, and especially like all my mates ride. And well, my girlfriend races World Cups, Millie, and having Cade as a best mate who rides, it's just honestly just have fun, and
it's just having that like sort of like bottom up approach rather than like rather than like being fixated on being professional or be fixated on being like a World Cup winner or whatever.
Yeah, like if you fixate on getting sponsored and doing, like you can fixate on doing well, of course, but you got to remember to enjoy it as well at the same time, because if not, what's the point in doing it? So
no, for sure, it's definitely like the takeaway that you get from like pretty much speaking to like all you guys so far, that it is just all about having like your motivation like the right way around, rather than like doing it to be sponsored.
There wouldn't be any point in riding your bike if you're not doing it for fun. Like just riding the bike, for me it's the funnest it's the funnest thing ever, which is for you.
Yeah, of course.
And there's nothing better than even being with your mates, and even watching your mates progress as well. Like there's nothing better, because you're just in the sesh, you're in the moment, and it's just you feel like you're progressing as well, watching your friends progress. Like, so yeah,
just have fun.
Just have fun.
Nah, for sure. It's definitely the way to go. Well, we've had you for over an hour. That's been class to chat to you, man. Super interesting. Thanks for sharing all your stories, and
thanks for
giving us some juicy details on the World Cup prize money, getting some gossip. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Where should folk hit you up on socials? Instagram? You just Kaos Seagrave?
Kaos Seagrave, and G Up or Die.
G Up or Die.
Yeah, that's all.
So like at G Up or
Die if you want to see all of our crew. And
sweet.
Big up for having us.
No worries. Cheers, dude. Thanks very much. Bish. That was class.
Big up.